Okay, hello, beautiful world. It's me again, Slayer Green, and this is the Future is Fabulous podcast with my buddies from Australia.
Hey, yeah.
So, Jill Ness, Andriana Natterer, Nancy Serpless, and we've known each other since I think 2005, so almost 20 years now, and we've
Yeah.
done the
Mm.
most amazing work together. As I was just saying to you also, I've been to Australia like 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 times. You came to the UK, and then we've been in the US together in Sedona, Arizona, and New Jersey by the ocean, and
Mhm.
we've just done so many wonderful things together, and
Mm.
continue to do it online as well all the
Mm.
time. So I thought it would be really cool to sit down and talk together, a little bit of reminiscing of the last 20 years and how we got to where we are. And
I
and
find it amazing that you and I are both Canadians, and
oh
yet it
yeah,
had to be Australia that we met.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. But if you
but
think,
we're all from different places. Adriana's got Greek background,
yeah,
and Carol's got um, Irish background. She came from Ireland,
yeah,
and um, Leslie came from the UK.
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah,
You're the only Aussie.
I'm
Jill,
the
you're
only
the only.
Aussie. Yeah,
Well,
But it was
because
interesting for how I met you. Like through my life, I've done a lot of I've known I was here to shift an age, but I've done a lot of different things that were
yeah,
along. But you do them, it would only last a year, less than that, or something, and then you realize, oh God, that's old, and you had to jump to the next newer thing.
move to the
yes,
next one.
Yeah,
yeah.
but with you, here we are, still 20 years together, still like we've never had to leave you because you got old.
No, because I'm
And
always jumping we're
teaching.
jumping together to the next new
We
thing.
jumped at everything together. So
Mm.
we were the same like that, which was
Mm.
lovely. The resonance of, yes, you can recognize when something's no longer relevant and jump
Yeah,
to the next that is relevant, and then that
Mm.
becomes irrelevant. So it's this leapfrogging, which, yeah, for 20 years it's been, yeah.
I know.
And you're usually leading the way.
Yeah.
Mm. I'll
we're
never forget
following, trying to keep
the
up.
yeah, the first meeting that you had was in a hotel on the beach near
Yeah,
Brighton
Yeah,
Beach, and
yeah.
you started talking, and I got so dizzy. I was sitting there reeling with the energy. It was just incredible. Yeah.
I don't even
Oh,
think I was that powerful back then. That was quite some time ago.
It was, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
But
Mm.
that's wonderful to hear. But I think that ability to radiate, to emanate,
Yeah.
to be an expansive field of
Mm.
light, creation, possibility, love, whatever
Mm.
it is for each of us, that it
Mm.
it just we just kind of are it now.
Yeah.
There's less effort. I don't have to go, okay, I'm lining up and I'm sourcing the space, and that's what I used to have to do. And now you just walk into a room and we're just all
yeah,
that
yeah.
suddenly.
Mm.
Yeah.
You just have to breathe.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
it used to be all kind of out there and you'd bring it in or maybe deep in here and you'd try to bring it out, but now it's all here. It's
mm,
present in us. It's in our cells.
mm,
I think I talked last summer about us being radiant suns, and I think we've
Mm.
even
mm,
gone beyond that now a little bit. So,
Mm.
yeah.
mm.
But the way the progression of everything has gone in people on a planet shifting an age, it's like it's amazing how we are so resonant with that and coming together with each of our unique things that was needed in the whole. Because
Yeah.
I know moving from Canada to Melbourne and not knowing anybody, um, that the friends that I have gathered along the way,
Mm.
and the ones that came with the visionary network, it have just been the ones that have lasted a long time, leapfrogging with us, and so powerful in their own rights. So in like finding you through this newsletter where you never even put an ad for your old bar, your second course you ever had here, Azaria did all and the fact that I think, oh, I just got to be there,
Yeah.
even though I wanted all the things that you offered, didn't know how I'd get them. and then went to Old Bar, and that's where I met Andriana, and
Yeah.
for the first time. And it just, yeah, I still didn't know what I was doing or what you were doing, and I called you out on it because you were just moving your arms, and I couldn't understand what the fuck you were doing. So I'll still remember that. And yet you had us walking across, you had something, a process, and you and Andriana were sitting on the bed. And I had to go through this process where I just took one step after another. And I didn't know what I'm doing, but it just shows you that the universe brings the opportunity for whatever it is you need to do at any time. And so I just was taking all of these steps. And at one step, I just broke down sobbing and could have just collapsed. But it only took a minute and a half of the sobbing. And then it was almost like a backbone back up again, straight again, next steps like that. And finally I finished. I took the last step, finished, opened my eyes, and there was the wall. Oh, the real good thing I didn't have another step. I would have bashed into the wall on the other side. But it's just going on from there, you know, and then met, so I brought you down to Melbourne, and then Jill found us through Theta Healing. And yeah, it's just amazing, the synchronicities to bring such powerful people together, because we needed each other. Nobody could have done it singly. We needed the group. It seemed to be work out because we're all in the same area in Melbourne. So we could meet and be together, but it was really needed for what we've accomplished over 20 years for us here in Melbourne anyway.
And you still meet with the Visionary Network once a month, don't you?
And we still do, yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow at my house. That's right.
Oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Andriana, do you want to throw
I was
in
going to say
there?
that was a really powerful first meeting that at one at Old Bar that Nancy's talking about. And we were all kind of pulled there for reasons that were undefined. You know, you sort of had I was at one of the coaching conferences and went to a thing, and they said, well, and then you said you were coming to Australia, and I for the first time left my children for that length of time to come to a workshop, which I never would have normally done, and then met Nancy and yourself and had that incredible experience. But I remember sitting in the circle in the room with everybody, and the two things came to mind, and one of them was that I was sitting in there and thinking, for the first time, I'm with people that can see the things that I'm seeing and can express it, and we all are. We're all seeing, and that absolute knowing that what you're seeing is in movement, in action. It's happening, and it's very real. And then I had I think you led us on a bit of a journey or something, and I had this incredible experience of being everything and nothing, and this incredible life force energy that poured through and out of me. And I was explaining it to you, and I had no idea what had happened, and I was explaining it to you, and you turned around and you said, oh, well, that sounds like 0 point energy to me. And I had to go and Google what 0 point energy was, because I had no idea.
I don't think I did either.
And it was exactly that. And it was in that space, like the spaces in between the spaces where creation occurs and where, you know, that the magic happens.
Yeah.
That we're experiencing now, only just now, you know, that it's that everyone's becoming real and tangible now.
Yeah.
So,
and that's been the focus of your greater big work for all these years, hasn't it? I think you called it, what do you call it, the blue flame or the origin point, or?
Well, I've got a website that's called Origins, and that blue flame was something that was gifted to me that I've on-gifted to people as well. So,
yeah. It's interesting how it's just a moment in time and an insight that you have, and it opens the door to, you know, who we are and what we're really about. So, yeah. It's been such a fascinating 20 years, really, and the work we've done in all those places around the world, you know, it's just really quite extraordinary to do that. And for me, the keys have been, like Nancy said it too, it just doesn't take one person. It's all of us together, each bringing something unique to it. And then that kind of fuses and creates something even greater, which I absolutely love. And we've been such a key part of that. So I was saying to you before we started recording that I remember the miraculous workshop at Jill's place in Melbourne that we did. And that was probably maybe 2014, 2015, I think it was, something like that. And when it was called the miraculous body, I think it was. So I
Oh,
went
yeah.
in and said, because I was hosting, leading it, and I went in and said, well, sometimes I can access the miraculous. And Azaria, who was sitting beside me, said, but Slayer, I'm always miraculous.
Yes.
I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's amazing. As she was, she's not no
Yeah.
longer with, she's up there. She's still with us, but she's up there now. And then I asked the room, there was, I think, 13 women in the room. And I asked the room, how many of you are always miraculous? And I think 6 out of 13 put up their hands. And then we had this incredible getting each one of them to say how they did what they did. And we created a new miraculous consciousness from the collaborative conversation, which I think is only just now, for me, starting to really show up in me, in myself. And also you three especially were involved with Centauri and doing sourcing physicality for quite some time online,
Yeah.
up until
Probably 4
about,
or 5 years. Yeah.
yeah, quite some
Because I
time
think
before.
he came out here 3 times
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. And yeah, I just remember one with Centauri, we were down in Georgina's house, and
Yeah.
he had the whiteboard up there, and it's the course started or something, and he goes and he puts a dot on the piece of paper, the butcher's paper, up on the plinth there, and he just put one dot there, and then we started from there. But in the end, at the end of the thing, it was a vortex. And it was
Yeah.
the first time anybody had heard of vortex. And then it was not until after that Abraham Hicks, it was all about vortexes. But it's almost like Centauri had brought that in to do whatever it did for however, how many years, and then, moved on again to something else. But I think one of the key things too with us and what we did, and it is with the group, is the laughter, the fun, camaraderie that actually kept the energy really high and things flowing, because nobody was taking anything serious in that way. We were all really in the joy of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
big time, yeah.
It was good fun.
And dancing,
Yeah.
singing.
Ridiculously, but I'm
And
glad there's
having
no
views
videos
of
of
the
this
ocean from that lovely venue that we were in, down by the water there. And, it was just, I really like having it be modern and funky and fun when we're doing stuff. I think that's really a key to it, to the laughter and the joy and the energy around us, the views, all of that is so important.
Yeah,
So,
it was your perspective and your personality and your come from place, Soler, that allowed all of that to flourish as well. This is why you suited us so well.
yeah.
As a facilitator or a teacher or whatever, bringer of it, just your come from place suited all of us, because it's informal and everybody is important.
Absolutely. Boy, I still believe that. I really believe that. I think the time of one person doing the whole thing is long gone. I think it's the many, 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 many and all kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree with all of that. We went out on the boat too, and we were looking for whales and dolphins and things, and that sort of thing. We had fun with all of that too. And there was one, because you bring those experiences, you sort of leave. I think you open up the space for experiences to occur. You create the space for experiences to occur. And we went up onto the tour one time that we were in Glastonbury, and we sort of got in connection with the earth, and we were on the tour, and you said sort of, what did you experience? And I was describing what I was experiencing about what was within the tour and things like that. And you said, yes, that's what I experienced as well. And it was this sort of aligned joy of knowing the flow of life. It was just, it was quite amazing experience. Yeah.
We have had some times. Good times together. absolutely. It's been amazing. And I think for me, all of this time, what about 25 plus years for me now, I've been trying to get the world to turn out in a single go with with as many of us as possible kind of thing.
Mm.
And so I was just telling you that I woke up this morning. It was 5:37 a.m. I woke up. I couldn't go back to sleep, right? So, and you know how you're laying in bed and this stuff just starts coming, right? So I was thinking,
Yeah.
because 25 years ago I was hosting conferences on corporate soul and the changing face of leadership and things like that. I was working with a lot of change makers and visionaries. So I was thinking this morning, change is really hard. It's like pushing an elephant up a hill, it seems, because I've coached
Yeah.
a lot of really big change makers over these years who are working in corporate and stuff, and it's really hard. It takes a
Mm.
long time, and it doesn't always land in the end.
Mm.
And I think that's because the belief in change is that it's hard and it's stressful. Do you know that's
Mm.
an old paradigm belief? But then people talk about the 100 monkeys. And well, if enough of us get it, then everybody will get it, kind of thing. And to some degree, I can see that working. But what's happened in the last, I'd say, 10 to 12 years, maybe, since 2012, is we've been working on what I would call quantum evolution. So in quantum evolution, we take big leaps. And where 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you were doing that kind of energy consciousness work, you'd see it show up in the world in about a year. But now
Mm.
you see it show up in the world almost immediately. Like
Yeah.
it's so much quicker, the quantum
Mm.
evolution. I think that's because it's embedded in. So my next thing now that we're working on is our collective singularity. And I think the collective singularity is a flashpoint. It's beyond even evolution. It's
Yeah.
like and everything changes. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of what we've been working on in the Memoration of Maestros groups that you're a part of and in anything we do now. So I'm like, I'm on it.
You're right. Yeah.
But it's
And you
almost
can,
like in the 20 years you've worked up to that, because there's no way 20 years ago you could have had a singularity flashpoint. It just
no,
there was too much denseness around that we were walking through,
yeah,
and it personally I think that a gradual bringing everybody, making sure everything, so there's so much that has to fit in that we really couldn't imagine it ourselves. I
yeah,
think only the universe or source itself would know possibly what, everything to take care of everything. So there's a lot that we wouldn't be taking into account because we wouldn't know it
yeah,
or imagine it. So anyway, to me, I trust. I used to be a lot more impatient and wanted it all now, but I'm more in my wisdom or whatever. I'm sort of seeing how the movement, however it's occurred, actually is the better way, because it's brought us to this point where
yeah.
now I feel it's going to be a lot more possible. And when it happens, it will be the right timing. But it needed however many years to bring us to this point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
And
foundational steps put in
yes,
place,
definitely. Yeah.
like our collective consciousness that includes all life forms in us and the earth and the universe and nature and
Yeah.
the emerging intelligence that we're discovering through Veda Austin's work with water and Dr. David Clement's work with light. And I just saw something about plants and intelligence and the mycelium networks. And, we're
Yeah.
becoming much more reawaring ourselves to the brilliance and the intelligence of nature, but also the source presence of everything and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. It seems as though it's all absolutely escalating.
yes.
It's just getting bigger and bigger and escalating faster. Oh, sorry.
That's a confirmation right there.
Yeah. And I also feel what's actually awakening in me, which therefore it's awakening in everybody, is this the more awareness of the things that we could only imagine that we could do are seeming to come out online now, and we're able to do it more.
Yeah.
Like the telepathy. I'm still waiting for teleporting. But just my perspectives have shifted hugely. I have a much more bigger view than just the little one face to face that I used to have, and less reactionary and more empathic in a in a more powerful way.
Yeah.
Just so many subtle things, but I just feel I can feel something opening up, almost like I can reconnect to my fullness of myself is coming more and more clear. And when that happens for everyone, so that's my wish for everyone, is just to be fully connected to all they are. And I think that answers every problem would be solved if we would just that, working in a united field with this, knowing who you are, things would get done so quick.
I
So
agree.
anyway.
I
I was giving some thought as well for leading up to this, doing this call. And way back when we first met, we would receive some extraordinary experiences, and we'd write them down, or we'd do something with them, and we'd create something amazing. And then we'd second guess ourselves, or at least I did. You second guess yourself. You think, oh, did I really do that? Was that it? And that kind of diffused it a little bit. Now there's such an absolute certainty, I think, within each and every one of us that the power that's flowing through us, towards us, and from us is so real, so tangible, that because we have that absolute knowing and certainty of the power that we are expressed, we're bringing it more substantial, and people feel that vibrationally and experience that vibrationally, and they think, well, if that can be the case, then I can do this too, and that's how I think it's like passes on from one to another and it just becomes an unstoppable force that we've talked about.
Beautifully said.
And Jill and Andriana, you guys used to do, well, you still do beautiful writing, but you're looking back to what you wrote 10 years ago, and you're seeing that it's actually relevant now. So you actually were writing for the future that was coming, or that was already there in the no time. So that's also proof that we've always been this, but we didn't always have the access, or as you said, second guessing, doubting ourselves, not believing in ourselves. And that seems to have really fallen away, and you're standing quite strong and solid within your knowing of yourself.
Interesting we're talking about that, because if I look back pre the mid 1990s, so I would have been in my 45 going into 50s, right? I just didn't even have a clue who I was. After even 45, 50 years on Earth, you'd think you'd have a clue, right? But I was still searching and not struggling so much, because I've always had quite a blessed life. I've been lucky, but I just was searching all the time for something that wasn't filled up. And now, and I can see it progressionally over the last 20 years that we've been together. I can see the steps. I can almost say, oh yeah, that, and that. And I think now I look at myself and I'm just thrilled. I'm like, wow, this has been a glorious life for me, with lots more to come, I'm sure. But glorious friends, great experiences, expansive intelligence, the being able to connect with the knowing, being able to work with quantum evolution and with people like you in consciousness innovation that we've done. I don't have any doubts now. And at the same time, even though I'm saying I now know who I am, I could care less. Just so funny to say, because you kind of stop paying attention to yourself after a while when you get there. And your attention is on this glorious world and the potential for all life to elevate and evolve and thrive in a brand new way, So it's quite a shift actually in the last 20 years. And I would think it's not just me. I would think it's all of us.
And seeing so much beauty everywhere, in people and everywhere.
And Centauri's saying that it's better to be undefined. I think that's, that you are, and I think that is what you actually get to. But if I look back on all those years, like how much easier was it to see somebody else than it was to see yourself? All right. So I'm talking about what I knew of you guys, right? And you
Yeah.
know what? It's almost like even 20, it didn't matter what was on the outside or what we were doing. The thing that was on the inside has only blossomed and got stronger, but it still hasn't changed from what I thought I knew about you guys anyway.
That's
You know,
wonderful.
like you're just doing more of it, doing it more powerfully, and because more is available to us. But you've always been who you were, and what you were going to do. It just, each one of you, it doesn't, you know, I can't say it for myself because I didn't see myself like that, but for seeing you guys and then even others that we know, you always had that. It's not like now you've become a follower, Salir, right? You just have kept leading, right?
Yeah.
But you always were always the one to put the language to what was the newest and the latest and the whatever, and that's never changed, right? So that's and the wanting more, that's never changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because I'm using the word leader. I love bringing people together and celebrating everybody and creating new things. But I think we're creating a new kind of leadership, which I now call source leadership. And source leadership isn't you're at the top directing. You're in a circle
Yeah.
co-creating.
Co-creating.
And it's a very
Definitely.
different kind of leadership in that
Mm.
way.
And that's
And
another wise.
you've always been like that, Celera, because you've always encouraged people to speak out and say what they want to say, and you never have any words of judgment about what is being said.
I try. I try hard.
Yeah,
not to.
no, you're much better at it now. But but you didn't ever knowingly want to put anybody in their place.
No, well, because
that is
I
really
think
an
when
art.
people speak like that and like you're in something and there's somebody goes like this, it's because something very powerful is trying to emerge, and judgment or stifling people stops the emergence of the real contribution that's trying to come through. And so I think that's important, and I've gotten better at being able to do that.
And there again is the resonance, because each of us would be the same, and the other people that we're with, everybody is like that we know, and they all want, you know, of course we'll all do our different things, and you know, we're not 100% at anything, but I don't even think that's necessary. That's not a gauge in any way that I can see. It's just being natural, and the heart is good, and the heart wants the best for everybody, and we want the world to shift, and it's just always been like that for all of us, whether we knew it or not. And here we find ourselves. Finally, the age has shifted. It's a done deal. Like, oh, sometimes I just sit in awe. And the fact that we've done it, we've done whatever we've done, everybody else is doing what they're doing. I'm just in awe sometimes. And I just think, so I can't wait for the real practicalness of everything that we've brought to the fore. Actually, we get to live in, and our grandkids and our kids get to live in it in a real way. Because right now it still looks crazy, but there is one part that isn't crazy, that we are actually living in more than I'm living on something I see in TV. I'm not living in any of that craziness. It only comes into my house through the TV. So what, you know, but my lived reality, like yours, is the new that we're talking about, the new that we brought here, the awe and the wonder and the joy, and that's what we're living. And it makes a huge difference.
Beautifully said. It's that rich connection with people, with animals, with nature, with the universe, you have a growing, strengthening relationship with all of that. So even though on the one hand there's things going on in the world like this, on the other hand there's this growing connectedness of us all, and respect, and awe and wonder at ourselves as unique and beings with contribution to make. So
and that's our true sourceness coming through. Like, that's how we're always meant to be. So that we're coming more online. So all of that is just an automatic thing that comes with it. And it's not something we have to learn or it's hard to get to. We're just coming home to ourselves, and the beautiful connection in this unified field that we all life is living in.
Yeah.
And we will be able to communicate with all of it when everything's, freed up in us and free to flow. When we're free to flow.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
With joy.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
one of the things I think that's also happened in the last 10, 20 years, especially the last, I would say, 7 years for me, maybe 5 to 7 years, is I can now source reality. Whereas before I existed inside reality and was working to make things better and bring new possibilities in, right? But now we, and I would say we as well, can source reality. So reality shows up in where we're holding a space or sourcing a space for it, as opposed to reality smacks me in the face. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience, and certainly because in the last 3 years we started to embed source in life, in ourselves, in the earth, in everything, like call it more present, embody it more, and see it in everything, and whatever that means for people, source, God, creator, universe, whatever divine, whatever terms people use is okay with me. I think we mean very much similar or the same thing. So yeah, it's much more present and in us and in the air we breathe. And I think that changes everything in
Yeah.
us. So yeah.
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 And I honestly think it's the connection with an awakened love that's within us that actually connects us to consciousness in a different way. And I think then everything's open to you with that. It just feels really like that. I'm a firm believer in heart energy.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Fantastic.
Mm.
Well, it's certainly been an incredible 20 years with you three,
Yeah.
and all the other Visionary Network
Ditto.
crew. And we have loads more to come.
All the best part is almost in the future, isn't it? The best
Yeah.
part is in the future.
Yeah,
Our lived reality matches our dreams.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. And we're at work on that. I think for anybody listening to this later, the recording, that we are at work on this, and there's a goodly number of us, not just in our Murmuration of Maestros group or in the people
Is
No,
it
in the
huge?
world. In the world.
Yeah.
There's so many people in the world at work on this in all different ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's a growing number of people, like very richly learning to source consciousness, reality, breakthroughs, etc. So it's exciting, really.
It feels like the 100th monkey thing is coming, is almost like, I don't know, the ball's rolling or something like that, because everything seems to be speeding up and
Yeah.
getting more, and we're getting more, and things are, like the awareness is way more, and
Yeah.
you can talk almost about anything to anybody practically, and so that's growing more. And so everybody at work around the planet seems to be, increasing it all exponentially.
Yeah. It's an exciting time.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah. Young or old.
Yeah. What what feels like you're all describing, it feels what you were saying earlier about that collective singularity. It feels like that's what we are embodying now. Like we're walking as that. We're walking as a collective singularity, and that is the flow of you used a term in one of the things. It was alchemical pulse emerging from a flowing core.
Yeah.
And to me, that describes a collective singularity. I don't know if that's how you saw that, but I feel that's how I feel that we're becoming, in that we're walking as that, and we're walking as us, but we're walking as a totality of all of life and everything, with a collective thought wave within our own unique expression. It's just that's how it feels like. What you said, like becoming sons, or that's how it feels when you speak and think about that. It's that emergence of that true beauty that's within, expressed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very different now from what it was 20 years ago or
Yeah.
40 years ago, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, yeah, exciting.
Mm.
Well, I just want to thank the three of you for being my buddies for 20 plus years. It's been, we've just had such an amazing ride and continue to. I know we will continue to do amazing things together. So, and individually as well. So, thanks for being on this and for sharing with the world all your wonders and beauty and all
Thank
that
you for
kind of stuff.
organising it
It's
all.
been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been
fun.
fun reminiscing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Okay, doke. And for everybody listening, thanks for listening to us, and we wish you wonderfulness in your own life and whatever you're up to make the world brighter and better. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.